Welcome to Defense Briefing. The content of the briefing includes Air Force downs 13 of 19 Shahed drones and 1 of 6 missiles launched by Russia. Attacks on ships and U.S. drones show Houthis can still fight despite U.S.-led strikes. For many Ukrainians, life is split in two, before and after the war. This is one family's story. Singapore Air Show latest, business jet demand, Embraer plans. Trident missile test fails for second time in a row. Air Force downs 13 of 19 Shahed drones and 1 of 6 missiles launched by Russia. Yahoo! Russian forces launched an attack on Ukraine with 6 missiles and 19 kamikaze drones. Ukraine's Air Force was able to shoot down 1 missile and 13 drones. The attack included a variety of missiles launched from different locations in Russia. Ukrainian forces responded with anti-aircraft units, mobile fire groups, and electronic warfare equipment. Attacks on ships and U.S. drones show Houthis can still fight despite U.S.-led strikes. South China Morning Post. Despite over a month of U.S.-led airstrikes against them, Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels remain capable of launching significant attacks. This week, they damaged a ship in a crucial strait and downed an American drone worth tens of millions of dollars. The continued assaults by the rebels on shipping through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait underscore the challenges in trying to stop these attacks. Analysts warn that the longer the Houthis' attacks go on, the greater the risk that disruptions to international shipping will begin to weigh on the global economy. The Ruby Mar attack marked one of a few direct, serious hits by the Houthi rebels on shipping. In late January, another direct hit set a tanker ablaze for hours. Meanwhile, the Houthis released footage of what they described as a surface-to-air missile bringing down a U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drone off the coast of Hodeidah, a Yemeni port city they hold on the Red Sea. Pentagon spokeswoman Sabrina Singh told journalists in a briefing the Houthis shot down the drone. In November, the Pentagon acknowledged the loss of an MQ-9, also shot down by the rebels over the Red Sea. Since the Houthis seized the country's north and its capital of Sana'a in 2014, the U.S. military has lost at least 4 drones to shoot-downs by the rebels, in 2017, 2019, and this year. For many Ukrainians, life is split in two, before and after the war. This is one family's story. Associated Press. The lives of millions of Ukrainians have been permanently changed by the ongoing war with Russia. Families like the Dmitriks, who were just starting their life together when the war began, now mark their lives as before and after February 24, 2022. Many have lost loved ones, been forced to flee their homes, and are living in a state of constant war. Even if peace is eventually achieved, the war has shattered reality for generations to come. For Katerina Dmitrik, her husband's liberation from Russian captivity brought a glimmer of light back into her family's life. However, she knows that the experiences they went through over the past 2 years will stay with them forever. They describe those 2 years as living in constant hell. The war has taken a heavy toll on their mental and emotional well-being. Artem Dmitrik, Katerina's husband, was captured by Russian forces during the war. Katerina spent months waiting anxiously for any news about his whereabouts and well-being. She remained strong for their young son, Timur, and held on to hope that Artem would return. After nearly 2 years, Artem was finally released as part of a prisoner exchange. The family was reunited, but they still face challenges as they learn to live with each other again and adjust to the changes brought on by the war. Singapore Air Show latest, business jet demand, Embraer plans. Bloomberg. China's homegrown C919 jet made its international debut at the Singapore Air Show, where Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China signed a 40-plane deal with Tibet Airlines and won the endorsement of Saudi Arabia's Riyadh Air as an emerging rival to Boeing and Airbus. Meanwhile, Singapore's plan to introduce a levy on air fares to pay for sustainable aviation fuel was a hot topic at the airshow. The cost of transition to net zero will be expensive, warned International Air Transport Association CEO Willie Walsh. Trident missile test fails for second time in a row. BBC. A test firing of a Trident missile from a Royal Navy submarine has failed for the second time in a row. The missile's booster rockets failed and it landed in the sea close to the launch site. Trident missiles carry the UK's nuclear warheads. This failure is embarrassing for both the UK and the US manufacturer of the missile. Trident tests are rare due to their cost, with each missile costing around £17 million, $21 million. The previous test from a UK submarine in 2016 also ended in failure when the missile veered off course. China says US veto sent wrong message over Gaza. BBC. China has criticized the US for vetoing a UN Security Council resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. China has said that the veto sends the wrong message, giving a green light to the continued slaughter. China's UN ambassador Zhang Jun said that the claim the motion would interfere with ongoing diplomatic negotiations was totally untenable. The US has proposed its own temporary ceasefire resolution, but it is unclear if or when the Security Council will vote on the proposal. War in Ukraine is turning in Putin's favor after months of stalemate. Yahoo! The conflict between Russia and Ukraine has now entered its third year, and it appears that Russian forces are taking the upper hand. The capture of the city of Avdiivka by Russian forces marks a significant victory for President Vladimir Putin in a conflict that has seen considerable back and forth between the two sides. In response, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has changed his military leadership, citing disputes over conscription and battlefield strategy. Meanwhile, Ukraine's troops are running low on ammunition and weapons, with political infighting in Western capitals delaying aid and deliveries. The death toll in the conflict has reached levels not seen in any European conflict since World War II. However, both Russia and Ukraine are treating their losses as state secrets. Millions of Ukrainians have been displaced from their homes, and the mood in Kiev is notably darker as the conflict continues. The situation in Ukraine remains bleak, with Russian forces taking the offensive and capturing key cities. President Zelensky has responded by changing his military leadership, but the Ukrainian troops are running low on weapons and ammunition. There is little sign of the conflict abating, with Western capitals divided and infighting over aid and deliveries. The situation is further exacerbated by the fact that both Russia and Ukraine are treating their losses as state secrets. China-Europe ties worsen on Ukraine and disputes over trade. Bloomberg. The Munich Security Conference has exposed growing divisions between the European Union and China over the bloc's biggest security concern, the war in Ukraine. Beijing has offered little substance on how to end the war, and the bloc has made it clear it won't separate trade from security issues. Tensions have been rising as Brussels has opened a probe into Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers, and China has launched an anti-dumping investigation into EU liquor products. Brussels is considering new restrictions on 3 Chinese firms that it believes are supporting Russia's war efforts in Ukraine. Why the Navy is acquiring a ghost fleet of drone boats. The Sydney Morning Herald. Australia is planning to acquire 6 large optionally uncrewed vessels from the mid-2030s in partnership with the US Navy, as part of an overhaul of its naval fleet. The vessels would be built in Western Australia based on a US Navy design. The Australian Navy currently operates the oldest fleet in its history, and the planned acquisition of 9 Hunter-class frigates would leave the Navy with too much reliance on heavy ships focused on anti-submarine warfare. The new vessels would be around 90 meters long and have a displacement of around 2,000 tons, similar in size to a corvette. They would contain 32 missile cells, the same as a Hunter-class frigate. The U.S. Navy expects 40% of its fleet to be uncrewed by 2050. The U.S. Congressional Research Service has said uncrewed vessels can be individually less expensive to procure than manned ships and aircraft. However, there are technical and legal challenges to overcome before such vessels can operate without a crew. Ukraine denies Russia's claim that it captured village in Kherson Oblast. Yahoo! Ukraine has denied claims by Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu that Russian forces captured the village of Krynky in Kherson Oblast. Ukraine's Southern Operational Command accused Russia of manipulation and falsification of facts. The Institute for the Study of War also contradicted Shoigu's statement, saying Ukraine maintains its limited bridgehead in the area. Analysts suggested Shoigu attempted to frame Russia's assault of Kherson Oblast as similar to the seizure of Avdiivka in an attempt to project military strength ahead of the 2024 presidential election. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the 6-degree world, here to bring you the latest news from around the globe. Today, we witnessed a series of events that highlight the ongoing conflicts and tensions in various parts of the world. In Ukraine, the war with Russia continues to take a toll on the lives of millions of Ukrainians. Families like the Dmitriks have been forever changed by the war, and even if peace is eventually achieved, the scars will remain. The capture of the city of Avdiivka by Russian forces is a significant victory for President Putin, as Ukraine's troops struggle with ammunition and political infighting delays aid. Meanwhile, in Yemen, Houthi rebels continue to launch attacks despite US-led airstrikes against them. The rebels' ability to damage ships and down expensive American drones demonstrates their resilience and the challenges faced by those trying to stop them. Analysts warn that these attacks could have a profound impact on global shipping and the economy. On the international stage, tensions between China and Europe are escalating over the war in Ukraine and trade disputes. The Munich Security Conference highlighted the divisions between the European Union and China, with Beijing offering little substance on ending the war. Brussels is considering new restrictions on Chinese firms that it believes are supporting Russia's war efforts. In other news, a Trident missile test by the UK has failed for the second time, causing embarrassment for both the UK and the US manufacturer. China has criticized the US for vetoing a UN Security Council resolution demanding a ceasefire in Gaza, calling it a wrong message that allows for continued slaughter. And in Australia, the Navy is planning to acquire a ghost fleet of drone boats to modernize its naval fleet. These stories remind us of the complex challenges faced by countries around the world. Conflicts, tensions, and technological advancements all play a role in shaping our global landscape. As always, I encourage you, our esteemed audience, to share your thoughts and questions. What are your perspectives on these events? Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.